Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What on earth are they, I hear you ask? Well, my friend Lucy and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, the ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So if you're ready, here we go. Anyway, today we thought we would talk about breathwork.
Yeah, it's very exciting because you are a newly trained breathwork facilitator.
Yeah, I've been talking about it for a long time because I've been training in breathwork since I think it was April. And actually, Lucy, do you know what? I did a podcast episode about it this week, and I was trying to remember how it all came about.
Yeah.
And I think it was all down to you.
Really?
Yes, because you are the one who told me about Samantha Skelly at Pause because you had had an experience of her. And of course, before that, I had done yoga and I had done some breathing exercises and pranayama and all that sort of thing. But I had never actually experienced breath work in another sense, in the sense that I've kind of trained in, until you mentioned Sam. And so I then went and checked her out. And I was just so drawn in to all of it. And it literally was a matter of weeks that she then started to talk about the next cohort of facilitator training. And I just properly followed my gut, my intuition. And it was probably one of the easiest yeses I've ever made. I was just in it.
She is brilliant. And the first time, for anyone who wants to go and check out Sam Skelly, so Samantha Skelly, she's Canadian, or she lives in San Diego, but she's Canadian, and she has one of the biggest breathwork companies on the planet as far as I can work out. And basically, I remember the first time that I did breathwork was with her, and I was in a mastermind at the time with a load of other women, and she came in to do a breathwork session in this mastermind. And I'd never done it before, but I'd heard about it, but I was kind of curious. And I'll never forget it. It was just completely wow. And in fact, the first time I did it, I wept. I like properly cried, and which is quite a bizarre experience, but it's, as you know, because obviously you and I have done loads of breathwork sessions together during your training, and I'm completely hooked too. I absolutely love it. And like we've discussed before, it's like meditation on crack or meditation on steroids. And it because it really does get you into, it completely shifts your energy very, very easily. So it's amazing. But Polly, why don't you start talking about it? Because obviously you are now officially a trained breathwork facilitator. So why don't you sort of give people the lowdown on what it is, how it helps, what it does, etc., etc.
Yeah. Oh God, there's so much. I mean, I suppose let's just start with talk about the breath generally. We on average take about 30,000 breaths every single day.
Right.
And quite often it's a very unconscious thing which we are doing. And in fact, breathing is one of the few bodily functions that we can do both consciously and unconsciously. I think blinking might be another one, but there's very few which we can actually do, use both the conscious and unconscious mind. And yet breathing is so powerful because when we're breathing, what we're actually doing is, well, we can breathe in lots of different ways, but our body can, according to what we need in that moment. So if you think about energy, okay, so you might remember that equation back in your science lessons of glucose, which is other food, plus oxygen equals energy. So basically,
any science equations, but carry on.
Yeah, so basically we need oxygen from the air that we breathe to help to use get the energy out of the food that we eat. So it is absolutely fundamental. So about 2/3 of the energy we have in our body is from the air we breathe. So we all think it's the food, but actually the air is so important. And then then we have to, obviously we breathe out, and it's the carbon dioxide, it's the waste product that we breathe out. But so what that means really is, in terms of energy, how we breathe is so important in terms of the energy that we are bringing into our body, and it can really affect how we feel, because if you think about it, there's different, it's all controlled by our autonomic nervous system. So that's our, we can use our unconscious mind to control our autonomic nervous system. But there's two branches of our autonomic nervous system. There's the sympathetic and there's the parasympathetic. And how we breathe really determines of which branch we're in. So if we're breathing lovely, long, deep, slow breaths, generally you're going to be feeling pretty chilled out, and you're going to be in that more parasympathetic state, that kind of rest and digest state. Your body's going to be repairing, it's going to be resting. If we're taking much more shallow breaths, probably more from your chest, you're going to be more in that sympathetic state. It's more active, it's much more so you're more really going to be more alert, your senses are heightened. It's not necessarily always a negative thing, because sometimes we need that activation to feel really kind of on, rather than feeling, we don't want to. Sometimes if you're feeling really depressed and no get up and go, actually you're in that parasympathetic state, because you are, everything's kind of quite slow. And so how you're breathing really determines how you are feeling. It's kind of like a feedback loop. So if you're breathing in a short, shallow way, quite probably, okay, maybe you are feeling quite activated, but also you could be feeling potentially quite anxious, quite stressed, quite fearful. If you're going to go do something quite scary, you can feel your heart beating. It's kind of, your breathing's a bit more shallow. But it's a two-way loop. So it works the other way. So if you're, depending on how you're breathing affects how you feel and how you think, but then also how you're thinking and feeling affects your breathing. So the beauty of breath work is that you can actually change how you are thinking and feeling just by changing your breath. Because if you're feeling really, really anxious, you're having lots of anxious thoughts and your mind's whizzing, and you just slow down your breath, because your body's going to suddenly go, oh, hold on a minute, my breathing's calm, it's deeper, so I must be relaxed. I'm going to start thinking more relaxed thoughts, and I'm not going to be feeling so stressed, and vice versa with the parasympathetic. So that is how it can be so powerful, because actually all the other alternative is you think your way out of a state. You can think your way out of being anxious, but if you're feeling really anxious, we all know how difficult that is, to think your way out of that state. Whereas if you just breathe your way out, it's much easier. So that's one thing it can do really well. The other major benefit I see is that for all of us in this very busy, stressed out world, modern world in which we live, breathwork done in a safe container of a breathwork session, whatever, can really play with your edges. Although we do it in a very safe way, we don't want to re-traumatize any traumas, we do it in a really safe way, but it can push your edges, so that actually we're expanding your bandwidth, we're expanding your capacity to be able to, for your nervous system to be able to deal with stress. There's so many times in the day where you might think you're on that breaking point, you just feel like you're about to explode and you haven't got any capacity to hold anything else. What I found, what breathwork does, it just really helps you to build that capacity, so you can hold more, and you've got more of a flexible nervous system. You're able to shift between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic state so much easier. So those are two things I'll start with. So I'll let you talk now.
No. I mean, it's you are you're the expert. So it's great to hear. I mean, it's so interesting, and from my own experience of doing breath work on a regular basis for quite a few months now. So I mean, isn't it? It's I mean, it's probably I mean, it is quite.
Well, you were one of my first people I practiced with, and so that was back in April. So, well, no, it was probably April, May, June.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I have found that, apart from anything else, when you do, say, 20, it doesn't have to be 20 minutes, it can be 10 minutes, it can be 5 minutes, but I find that when I do a slightly longer breathwork session of about half an hour start to finish, and that would be, just to clarify, that would be not that whole 30 minutes wouldn't necessarily be at the particular breathing pattern.
About 8 minutes will be about breathing in one of
Right. exactly. So a third session will mean about 8 minutes of the actual breathing pattern that you're doing. And the thing I love about it is that when I do it for half an hour like that, I come out the other end feeling so fucking blissed out and so amazing. And we've talked about how it's really important for us to raise our vibration. We've talked about this before, and we will no doubt continue to talk about it, because both you and I believe very deeply in the power of raising your vibration and what that can do for your life. And breath work is one of the quickest ways and one of the best ways to raise your vibration. And the thing that I find about it is that you feel it so intensely. Like, you can feel at the end of a session that the energy throughout your whole body has changed. And what is amazing and what I absolutely love is that not only does it make me, and I'm sure you too, feel really connected to that higher power, to that sort of something bigger, but also my whole body just ends up tingling. Like, the whole of my body just feels really tingly and amazing. And you just feel that you've had this massive shift of energy, and it's so powerful. And that's what's crazy. I quite often like doing what's called the halo active breath, which is in through the nose, out through the mouth. And you and I have done lots of sessions using the halo active breath, which is just in through the nose, out through the mouth. But even just by sitting for 15 minutes, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth in a kind of a circular rhythm, you can really fucking shift your day in the way that you feel. And it's such an easy fix. And like all of these things, like meditation, breath work, going for a walk in nature, whatever it is, it's these actually really simple things that we can do to have a really profound effect on our lives. And breath work is right up there. And it's something that I've incorporated into my life now. And I tend to incorporate it into my meditations now. So I will maybe start with breathwork and then kind of move into a meditation, or vice versa. Or I can do a meditation that will also be me consciously doing a bit of breath work. And for anyone who's wondering, all that means is, because, Polly, correct me if I'm wrong, but breath work means intentionally breathing in a certain way, doesn't it? That's what it is. It's being intentional about the way that you're breathing, rather than just breathing without thinking about it, right?
Yeah, it's breathing intentionally to shift your state. Yeah. Ultimately, that is what you're doing. And I love that you said that, because for those people who meditate, so I love to meditate. I've been meditating for years, but actually I have now since discovered that if I do even 5 minutes of some sort of breathing, some sort of breath work before I go into a meditation, I drop into that meditation so much more easily, quicker. Yeah. And it's kind of because you're getting straight into your body. You're bypassing your mind when you get into breath work. It's a somatic modality where you're going into the body. So we just kind of get the mind out of the way much more quickly. And it does. You always say to me after we do a session with you, it's like, my God, I just went so deep into my body. And I think with meditation, you can get there, but it takes a lot longer to get to that deep place. I have found it anyway. I don't know if you found that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, breathwork certainly, it does. It allows you to drop in quicker than a meditation. But the thing actually that I love, I think, the most is starting with breathwork and then going into a meditation. Because like you said, start with 5 or 10 minutes of breath work and then you go into a meditation, which, for anyone going, well, what the hell does that mean? Well, it's part and parcel of the same thing, really. It's just,
it is, yes. Really, I mean, exactly. So in the sessions which I do, I always allow for a good bulk of time afterwards to really just let it all soak in. And honestly, for me, that is the best part of all of it. It's just to feel what you're feeling. You get these incredible, not always, but you can get these incredible downloads, these sort of intuitive hits, because I think you kind of, you're connected to and this is the more of the woo side of it, but you do feel very connected to yourself. With the breath, you can kind of get through all the layers of the stuff, the crap that we hold, and we've picked up along our way through our lives. But with the breath, you kind of get right into you and into your true essence. And you, in those moments, particularly afterwards, you really do feel hear the wisdom of your body, and so you can get some real clarity of thinking. And not always, but you can do. And even after a very short amount of time, and this is the thing, this is the beauty of it. And every time I've facilitated breath work, or I've been on the receiving end of it, it always blows my mind how you don't need hours and hours of time. Okay, you can do longer meditative sessions, which again I do, which are you breathe for over. Basically, how we've been trained is that anything under 8 minutes we call an integrative session. So that you can do seated at your desk, you can do sitting up. You're not so likely to go off into a sort of a really deep, unconscious, meditative, sort of altered state of consciousness. But you're still good. It can still be really transformative, and you can still get real benefits. Anything over 8 minutes, we would always recommend that you lie down, because you will go into kind of an altered state of consciousness, and that is when you can really get quite deep, and it can be really powerful. But I find personally, for me, just the shorter ones, I go deep quite quickly.
Same here. I mean, completely. I mean, the sessions that you and I have done together, which, I mean, on average are probably around about half an hour, where I'm not doing this sort of actual breathing pattern for more than 8 minutes. Most of the sessions that we've done together, I have felt like I'm in an altered state of consciousness, but in a really good way. I mean, it feels freaking amazing, to be honest. But one thing I just want to say to anyone that watches or listens to this is that it's like anything. If you get out what you put in, and the key is always consistency to so many of these things, meditation included. If you just do one breathwork session once, that's not really going to do very much for your life. If, on the other hand, you go, do you know what, I'm going to give this a go, you have to just commit to it for a decent amount of time, because in order to really, and it's exactly the same with meditation, in order to really reap the benefits of breath work, it's something that you want to be doing, if possible every day, or if not, at least a few times a week. Because like I say, if you do it once a month, it's going to do fuck all for your life, really, let's face it, except maybe in the moment when you do it that once a month. But really, there's almost no point if you're not going to kind of commit to it and do it regularly, then it's kind of pointless. But this is a really, I think one of us said earlier, it's a really, really easy win. It's literally, we all can sit down for 5 or 10 minutes every day and just breathe intentionally. It's not hard. So it's very doable. It's just making the decision to do something. And actually, just to add, I did my mini-sode this weekend on Saturday was about making the most of the rest of this year, basically, because I think there's a tendency we get to November and it's like, oh, fuck it, I can leave. Sorry, I'm swearing quite a lot this morning.
We wouldn't expect anything less.
but I just talk about how we can quite easily get to November, so beginning mid-November, and just be like, oh, do you know what? I can leave, I can stop exercising, I can stop doing this, I can stop doing all of those things, because it's nearly Christmas, so I don't really need to bother, because it can wait until the new year. But actually, I think this time of year, where we've got 5 weeks left until January, basically this is the time when we can I actually think it's a really good time to start something new, because rather than leaving it until January, if you're interested in breath work, why not start now? Why not do 10 minutes of breath work every day between now and the new year? And then when you come to January, you're going to be on a roll already. And I think we're much more likely to kind of, flipping New Year's resolutions, like nobody sticks, or it's so rare that people stick to them. And I actually think that now, while we're still kind of clinging on to November, it's a really good idea to start something now, and it could be breath work.
Yeah.
Holly, let me just ask you, what would you say are I know you mentioned this at the beginning, but if someone's thinking, well, why should I bother to add breath work into my life? What am I going to get out of it? What would you say are the biggest benefits of doing breath work consistently over time?
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you. I would say the biggest benefits is that you are going to just feel. I really truly think in this modern day life, we are all so strung out, we're so stressed. And actually adding in breath work is such an amazing way to not only in that moment change your state of being, but for me, one of the biggest benefits, it just expands your capacity for what you can hold. And it's that nervous system flexibility. It's nervous system work ultimately. You are going to just feel so much more in control of your emotions and just build your awareness for how you are feeling. But you're just going to have more capacity to hold more, so that you just feel generally happier. I mean, honestly, I think it's as simple as that. And I just want to say, actually, when we talk about breath work, there are so many different types of breath work, and some people have been like, "Oh, well, I don't really know what it is you're talking about," And I do very much see, and I did talk about this a bit in my podcast episode this week. I see it as a sort of a scale. And on one end, we've kind of got things like we've got functional breath work, and that is where people like James Nestor, Patrick McEwen, who are all kind of like the greats of breath work, they talk about. And that really is about breathing in a way which is going to optimize your health and well-being in your everyday life. And that is things like, we should all be breathing through our nose as we go around life, because that is how we're made to breathe. And they are, and particularly Patrick McEwen he works with people with asthma, with lots of issues with sleep apnea, all these problems, to kind of correct their breathing so that they can breathe. 80% of us aren't breathing properly, apparently. And then on the other end of the scale, you've got this more transformative breath. So things like the Wim Hof method, holotropic breath, which is much more transformative. It can be quite deep, quite heavy sort of stuff. I see what I do, pause breath work, the technique, as sort of bridging and straddling both of those. And because we go much more gently than some of these other ways, because we're trauma informed. We don't push it. We listen to the body. But at the same time, we do go into those, we altered state of consciousness. So that is what I would, just so that people are aware of that.
Yeah. And what can anyone thinking, well, how can I start? What would you, like, if somebody's not having an actual session with a facilitator like you, how can somebody safely start doing a bit of breath work on their own?
Yeah, I would literally just start with kind of the very first thing you can do is just becoming aware of your breath. Just really notice how you're breathing. So we do, even in sessions we do this, it's breath awareness. I would say that is the very, very first thing. Are you breathing through your nose? Are you breathing through your mouth? Is it coming from your chest? Is it coming from your belly? Just notice. And however you are breathing, maybe just try the opposite. So if you are breathing from your chest, you notice it's quite just through your nose, big belly, big breaths in. When you breathe, you should feel your belly rise. You're not breathing into your belly, but your belly should rise. That means that you are breathing kind of in a way which is using your diaphragm. Your ribs should expand out laterally, and you breathe it. And then you can either exhale through your nose or exhale through your mouth. But I would just do some rounds of that. I do the Halo Active breath, just in through the nose, out through the mouth. And you can do that. You can play around with that as slow as you want, or you can speed it up. So that's a really good breath just to get going. If you find that you're already breathing in a way like that, you can actually play around with it. And a more active breath, which is kind of more sympathetic, is a breath called the triactive breath, which is breathing through your mouth. This is much more activating. Great if you need a boost of energy. And this is like 2 breaths in through your mouth, so into your belly, up into your chest, so, and then out through your mouth. So you can just play around with those 2 breaths. Or if you're interested, I am just gradually, I'm not doing a big launch or anything, but I'm starting an online community called Just Breathe, which I'm going to offer everybody a free trial. If you're curious to find out what it's like, you can just drop into any of the sessions. I'm going to do 3 a week. Come and drop in, and you will experience a breathwork session. And if you like it, then it's just going to be 20 quid a week. 20 quid a month 20 quid a month for the time being, to jump into any of the 3 or 12 breathwork sessions a month, 3 a week. But it's and you can do it at your desk. You can do it, where part of your day. It's going to be really an easy way to get breathwork in, because I do believe doing it live with somebody else, and particularly in a group, it's that kind of group energy. It can be really powerful, and you're just much more likely to really sort of follow it through and go through with it. So if anybody wants to do that, I'll put it in the. We can put it in the. I put it in the link. It's in my bio. Actually, I need to put it in my bio, but it's pollywarren.com. Just breathe. If anybody would like.
And can I just say that, I mean, apart from anything else, it's a freaking bargain. £20 a month that's 3 sessions, not 3 sessions a month, but 3 sessions a week. That's 3, 6, 9, 12, potentially 12 breathwork sessions a month for £20. Now, anybody who knows anything about breathwork knows that is a bargain. And I can vouch for the fact that Polly's an amazing facilitator, like genuinely, not just saying that because you're my friend, because you know what I think about you as a facilitator. I think you are brilliant, and I always love my sessions with you. So, and like you say, you're offering free sessions. So anybody out there who is just curious about it, for God's sake, snap up a free session. Like, why would you not? And then if you enjoy it, then you can think about joining the monthly community. And again, it will be amazing. And to be able to join 3 sessions every week for £20 a month is really, really a freaking amazing deal. And again, if you are consistent with breathwork, it will make a difference to your life. It's as simple as it's made a difference to your life. It's made a difference to my life. And it is just one of those things that if anyone out there is thinking, oh yeah, I've been thinking about this, been wondering about this, just get in touch with Polly and have a free session.
And I'm going to play around with the times of the sessions. So I'm going to upload each of the sessions, and they can be up there for a week. Each of the week sessions will be up for a week, so you can do them then at whatever time in the week. I was going to upload all of them, but I actually thought, you know what? Actually, I think it can get quite overwhelming if they were all up there. So I'm just going to keep upload the weekly ones, because I think it will just encourage you to, if you can, come to the live sessions, and actually do them while they're up there. So yeah, thanks, love. Well, I'm very excited. Of all the things I've ever done, I definitely feel that this makes a really significant change in your state quite quickly. And as you say, the more you do it, the better it gets. So the
better it gets. It's so true. Yeah. I'm just thinking if there's anything else that we might want to mention before we wrap up about breath. Is there anything else, Polly, that you want to say about breath in it?
Yeah, I mean, there are just so many benefits, physical and sort of, more sort of spiritual and emotional. I think the thing is, breathwork has been around for the thousands of years. All of those amazing Eastern practices have incorporated breathwork, and I think it's only coming back into fashion now, and kind of becoming more mainstream, particularly in sort of the Western world, because now science is proving the incredible benefits of it. And there are so many physical ones, like it increases your lung capacity, it helps with your immunity, it helps with your digestion. There's so many, but then there's also those more kind of, as you might call them, the more woo benefits. It helps you tap into your intuition. It can help you connect more with your inner self. So I do think it's something which is on the rise. It's a bit like yoga was kind of back in the probably 60s, 70s, and then meditation has become more mainstream. I really, truly believe that breathwork we're going to be seeing a lot more of it.
I agree. And also, more than anything else, if you want to feel better, if you literally want to feel better in your day-to-day life, then give it a go, because you will feel better if you do it regularly, consistently. You're going to feel better, because it's just happens. And the more you do it, the better you feel. So I would, just encourage everyone to try it. And also, I did a little mini-sode on it, if anyone wants to listen to it, just to give my podcast a quick plug. When was that? I don't know, a couple of months ago anyway. But actually, anything on that mini-sode, you probably totally one-upped me on this on this live, because way
No,
more.
well, not necessarily, because actually I just realized in my podcast episode this week, I didn't really talk about raising your vibration with it. I mean, I've talked a lot about a lot of the benefits. So it's, there are so many, and, and a lot of my audience are women going through perimenopause and menopause. And actually, gosh, you couldn't get a better modality to help with that, because so many of the benefits are for helping you combat stress. And I just don't think we talk about stress enough in menopause and how detrimental that can be to symptoms and stuff. So, yeah, excited to offer it to all those lovely women as well.
Absolutely. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Well, it's 31 minutes past. We've gone a minute over.
Right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, thanks anyone who's watching or either our podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week. God knows what we're talking about then. You never know until about half an hour before.
All right, my love. Take care.
Lots of bye.